of July 15th, 2024. It's hot. Yeah, it's if you're certainly in North America, it's just plain hot. We've got a big heat dome over virtually the entire continent, but I'm talking about the astrological weather for this week. It is hot astrological weather. And in fact, the meteorological heat is not going to help. When you get a sense of where we are astrologically, you'll get a sense of why the heat, which is, I suppose, part of the entire picture, is going to be, a little bit more of a liability. So we start out with this. We start out with Monday. And if you're watching the weekend before, if you're watching on the 13th and 14th, and certainly on that weekend, as we build towards the meeting of Mars and Uranus at 26 degrees Taurus, we are feeling this energy as the cosmic warrior Mars and unpredictable and not, very patient Uranus get together. Now, they get together about every 2 years. They aspect each other fairly frequently, and it's always the same thing. We have the potential for impulsive action. We have a kind of impatience. It's the be careful driving all the time anyway. We have all of this sort of energy that is there. It's impulsive, it's impatient, things like IMP words, impish, I suppose. No. That's Mars Uranus, and it's especially powerful at the conjunction. But here's the thing. Mars and Uranus are at 20, remember I said 26 degrees Taurus, right? That is the position of the star Algol. Algol sounds like a company, doesn't it? Sounds like, well, we're investing in Algol. Well, don't. Algol is Arabic for the Medusa's head, or the ghoul, as it's Algol is the ghoul, and it's associated with the Medusa's head. It is a problematic little square. If we think about the zodiac as a game board, this is a problematic little square to land on. And both Mars and Uranus, who in their own way can be kind of bad boys, especially when they get together on this spot of the zodiac, spells the potential for trouble, let's call it. Now, Uranus has been hanging around this area for a while, for a few weeks. Perhaps we would note that there has been some unsettling things happening. And Mars getting into the mix just kind of brings it over the top. On the collective level, see quite a bit of this going on. What we would see also, though, is that on a personal level, we feel this, and it'll bleed over into the news, no doubt. But the potential is there for anger, for impulsive actions that are really not all that well thought out. And this is happening in the Earth sign of Taurus, where things can be done on a physical level. It's awfully disconcerting. Now, not everybody is going to feel this, not everybody is everybody's going to feel it. I would guess that everybody is going to feel it and has been feeling it for a while. Not everybody is going to react. Not everybody is going, we're not all going to make the news with our impulsive actions, but we're all going to feel it a little bit. You really have to be something to completely rise above this. I'm not guessing that many of you are going to be acting poorly, but some folks are going to act poorly. And I want to make the point, and this is important. These aspects that can be extremely challenging. This is an extremely challenging aspect. In an otherwise relatively mild July, this is the hot week. This is the hot week, and this is the hot day. The 14th, 15th, 16th. This is the real hot period of the month, and actually one of the hotter periods of the year. Although it's short, it's not that short because Uranus is hanging around. Anyway, the important point is that these aspects don't create anger, poor actions, violence, or anything like that. What they do is set the table, and they open up the possibility into which our anger, maybe your anger, maybe mine, can flow. Okay. In other words, this is not, it's not creating anything. It's giving an opportunity for what's already inside us to emerge. Right. And I mean, that's true of challenging aspects. That's true of nice aspects as well. You know, when Venus is trying to Neptune or something like that, that's fine. But that is a potential, and we fill that potential according to what we got going on inside of us. It doesn't make us like we're being little puppets on a string, right? No, it just sort of it takes the cork out of the bottle, and whatever you've got inside of that comes out. And so uh this is why so many people have such difficulty with it, because lots of people got all sorts of stuff in the various bottles that get uncorked. And so that pretty much describes why not everybody is going to be acting so poorly, but why some people are going to be acting very poorly. And you can run into them. You can run into them. This is honestly, this is an intense enough energy that I would say you're a rare bird if somehow or another you don't feel it at all, if nothing gets under your skin. Again, the hot weather is a perfect example, or a traffic jam is another great example. They don't create anger, but they sure do open up the possibilities for our anger, whatever anger we have, whatever potential for anger we have inside to come out, whatever frustrations we might have to come out. It's the same thing with these aspects. But these these aspects, it's not hot everywhere and it's not a traffic jam everywhere. But Mars conjunct Uranus on Algol is everywhere. Very intense through the weekend, 13th, 14th, Monday the 15th, it's exact. Now, Tuesday, the 16th, when the aspect itself might be dying down a little bit, Mars will be a degree past the conjunction point. We would generally expect things to be a little bit calmer, but here we go. The moon in Scorpio, where the Scorpio moon tends to be a little prickly about things. The moon in Scorpio will oppose Algol and Uranus and Mars on the 16th, on Tuesday, the 16th, yes. And so that is likely to stir up a lot of stuff that is, if we got past the aspect itself, it may be when the moon gets into the picture that things kind of pop more than they otherwise would. Again, the Scorpio moon is got a certain potential for reactivity on any month that is the 60 hours every month that it's going through there. The Scorpio moon has a potential for reactivity. And I would expect that this month, as it goes over, not only opposite to Uranus and Mars and Algol, but it is also going to go over Pallas Athene, who's in Scorpio and has stationed last week to go direct, and so is very, very powerful as well. Now, Pallas Athene is the asteroid that we associate with speaking the truth, saying things that are perhaps inconvenient. In the collective, you would expect typically that this is going to come more from women, because Pallas Athene is what goddess of wisdom, carrying a spear, right? Going to give you the lowdown on things. So we'll keep an eye on that. We've certainly been seeing quite a bit of that over the course of the last week. I don't like to get into specifics because it's, it'll be too local or something like that. But since her station last week, Pallas Athene seems to have been inspiring lots of people stating their opinions just as they see them. Okay. So think Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The next event that we have is on Saturday. Now, before we get there, Mars is going to go through the very end of Taurus, giving a little extra push to all of the above, I would say. Mars at the end of Taurus is again very ready to act. But then on Saturday, the 20th, Mars goes into Gemini, leaves Taurus for Gemini. Now, here we get maybe a little bit of, I want to call it pretty good news. Mars in Gemini tends to communicate verbally. Mostly, this is a verbal kind of communication. The words can be very sharp and very pointed. Sharp, I suppose. But Mars in Gemini might be a little less action oriented and a little bit more verbal oriented. Words can hurt too, but um, maybe we'll get a little bit of an improvement, in terms of that. Mars in Gemini, of course, could also, it's Gemini, it's a dual sign, both sides of the argument get popped up. And this is happening right before the full moon on the 21st, Sunday, the 21st. That is the second full moon this year in Capricorn, which means that it's happening at the very last degrees. The sun's at the very last degree, 29 degrees of Cancer, and the moon is at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Interestingly, this is very close to Pluto's station point. Well, Pluto's stationing, he's been stationing in this neighborhood for a long time, but it's close to his upcoming station point. At any rate, the second full moon in Capricorn is very likely to highlight a lot of the issues of Pluto having gone through the sign of Capricorn. We're at the very end. We're doing a little reconnoitering. Pluto's been in the sign since 2008. What have we learned? And where do we still have our issues? This full moon is likely to illuminate all of that. Not unrelated, Mercury will be square to Pallas Athene at the same time. Now, Mercury is in Leo. It tends to be a little bit of, I'll tell you the truth as I see it. Where Pallas Athene is in Scorpio, we're digging for the real story. At any rate, you add that together with Mars and Gemini, we're looking for a weekend with a lot of heated words, a lot of very direct communication. It's a full moon, there's an emotional component to it. The sun's at the very last degree of the clannish sign of Cancer, very much concerned with our organic connections and so on. So I'm getting the feeling that the weekend may also be a time when things are expressed without reserve, let's call it. So I would think that, this is the energy that we'd find, particularly on Saturday and Sunday. We'll certainly feel it from Thursday onwards, but it's mostly Saturday and Sunday, because we have to wait for Mars to get into the sign of Gemini and for these alignments to be exact. But the potential is there. Is it going to be a fun weekend? Because after all, that's the important consideration. It might be fun. Fun in its own particular way. It doesn't seem like we're really breathing too easily at this particular juncture. Just a day later, on the 22nd, the sun returns home to Leo, joining Venus and Mercury, and then we have full-on Leo season, and that's a whole other story. But if I talked about that now, then why would you tune in next week?